Ashamed to ask, ashamed to admit, got Jewy questions. This is it. Why is wicked simple or unsure how to ask? We'll open up the books, the ark. We'll open up your cynical heart. No such a thing as a dumb question, okay, that's mostly true. Tami and Shoshana are here for you. Ashamed to admit, ashamed to ask.
It's everything you didn't get in Jewish studies class.
Play.
Nailed it. Welcome to Ashamed to Admit. My name is Shoshana Gottlieb Becker, and the Becker is new
Because?
I got married quite recently.
Mazel tov.
Thank you so much.
I'm divorcee, ex-closet gay Tami Shoshana. And this is our Ashamed to Admit Jewish Wedding Special, Part 1.
Because there's a question mark.
There is a question mark.
So it's like part 1?
Potentially.
Potentially.
I have a feeling, I feel it in my kishkas.
There'll be more follow-up questions.
I reckon, because we're trying to keep these episodes to half an hour, but there's a lot to get through.
It's just setting us up for failure.
I think it's managing expectations. Should we get to it?
Yes, let's get to it.
All
There's
right.
some questions.
I do.
Yeah.
Your followers have some questions.
Right, because I put it on my story being like, do you guys have blind spots from, Jewish day school, things that you feel like you should know and you don't. But I didn't tell them that I was doing the podcast and that I was data mining their answers for the sake of this.
Of this show, because you're a professional. No, what I recall is prior to your wedding, you made a special...
Oh, like Q and gaze.
You did a Q and gaze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
You do, but you said, I'm getting married. Yeah. Any questions? And because I follow you...
You just screenshot all the...
I did, and there were lots
That's what this is, by the way, that's screenshotting.
Thank you. For the people listening and not watching, Shoshana is gesturing with her hands. She's making some kind of gesture that resembles
That's screenshotting. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Maybe they should just watch it. We got all the trouble of setting up the cameras for them to not watch it.
Some people listen while they're walking their cat, and they need to be able to have your gestures described.
And I was saved by the grace of a broken light and will no longer be disparaging cat people on this podcast.
So you have 33.2 thousand followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of your followers were really curious in the lead up to your wedding about how you and your then fiance, now wife, how does that sound, by the way, when I say wife?
Still getting used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I secretly cringe when people say, my wife.
Yeah, I said it once and then I was like, oh, I actually hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never do that again.
Yeah.
That's a
so
public
I never do it now. Yeah.
That was a public service announcement to people listening. So your followers had a lot of questions about how you were doing your Jewish wedding. So Shoshana's going to be here for you on today's podcast. And as Shoshana brought up in our very first episode, I'm also a marriage celebrant.
Yeah. Which I also have questions for you.
So I'm here for you.
Okay. I'm going to ask you the first question, actually.
Go for it.
Do you think you do Jewish weddings, or do you just do weddings and then sometimes they're Jewish weddings?
That's like asking me, am I Australian or am I Jewish Australian or Australian Jew?
Yeah.
I think, so sometimes, do you mean if I'm marrying two people and they're neither of them are Jewish, then it's just a wedding?
Yeah. But if you, how do you define a Jewish wedding as a person who performs weddings for Jewish people that aren't religious?
And you really want this to be the first question?
Yeah, because I'm more interested in that than whatever I have to say.
Because I was going to ask you what in your opinion constitutes a Jewish wedding.
Yeah, but I asked it first, so.
Fine. And we should preface this by saying that the answer that I'm going to give and the answer that you're going to give would be very different to the answer that maybe a modern Orthodox rabbi would give.
Oh, yeah. I think that should be a blanket rule of anything that we say could definitely be refuted by 1 million Jews.
Yes. And the biggest cliche in the Jewish community is there are how many Jews in the world, and there are how many Jews are there?
I think it's like 15.8 million.
So there are 15.8 million Jews in the world, and there are 15.8 million ways to be Jewish or opinions. So in my opinion, if our couple comes to me, and I have had couples who are, both of them are Jewish, they just don't have a connection to a congregation or a synagogue. I have couples come to me where one is Jewish and the other is not, and therefore a rabbi won't marry them. And if they want Jewish ritual in their ceremony, I will absolutely include that. If they want to call their wedding a Jewish wedding, then they can. If they want their wedding to be a Jewish-Greek wedding blend, I always say it's not my wedding, it's your wedding, and it's what you want your wedding to be. Now, if I had an Australian of Catholic origin and a Indian Australian of Hindu background, and they came to me and they said, we would really like to break a glass because we love that. We saw it on Wedding Crashers and we think it's really fun. I would maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable about that. And if they wanted to say that theirs was a Jewish wedding, I would say, well, it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
Have I answered the question like a politician? Or
Yeah, very political.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you were expecting me to say?
I think so. I'm like, how do you as a celebrant, I mean, we can answer this like at the end, but how do you make a wedding feel Jewish? Because to me, and this is, I think, my answer, because you wanted to ask me.
I did. What constitutes a Jewish wedding?
So for me, the thing that's Jewish about a wedding is like the structure, right? Because it is like the socially expected structure of a wedding, right? It's the cultural like sameness across space, right? Like a modern Orthodox wedding here is probably going to look like one in America, in Israel. Like they're all very similar because it has that set structure and also the ritual. But like if a couple aren't affiliated, I'm interested in what makes it, how you turn it into a Jewish affair. Maybe affair is the wrong word for a wedding.
How do I turn it into a Jewish event?
Yes.
Well, how about we go through the different rituals?
Great.
And then I'll tell you at the end, well, this is what I think makes this particular wedding, which may not have two people who are both Jewish.
Interesting. Okay.
Are you happy to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
You ask a question.
Okay.
And then I'll answer based on and then we can fill in the gaps.
Okay. Here's an example.
Okay.
I was officiating a wedding many years ago. And the groom was Jewish and he wanted to get married. So did the bride, actually. They wanted to get married underneath a chuppah. And one of his family members came forth and said to me, what do you call this? I'm putting on a South African accent just for cultural accuracy.
Okay.
And I said, this is a chuppah. And he says, but it's not a chuppah. And I was like, but it is. And he said, well, it's not a kosher chuppah. So can you tell me and tell our listeners and our viewers about the chuppah?
Okay, so as far as I know, chuppah is it's a custom, right? And it's not as beautiful meaning that we've created and invented, but I don't think the things that constitute marriage, when you look at the letter of the law, don't often include a chuppah.
Yes.
And again, fact check me if you would like.
Yes.
But I do think that is pure custom that has then become so synonymous with a Jewish wedding, it's almost become law.
Okay, that's what I thought, and that's what I read many years ago in Anita Diamant's book, The Jewish Wedding.
I have it somewhere. I have it, I think it's in my bag.
Okay.
In the blue one.
I'm just going to pass.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like Mary Poppins. Yeah, in this one.
The Jewish Wedding Now. You have a newer version of this book.
Yes, this is we actually have 2 copies. So I'm trying to sell this on a buy-sell swap group for $10.
Okay.
No takers.
All right.
So if you want to buy this for $10 Australian,
Shoshana is
message
now
me.
holding her book up to the camera for those walking their
put it
cats
on the
and listening.
like a little product place.
Definitely sure. Okay.
Slay.
So that's definitely going to make our waters spill.
I think so. It's a very light book.
Okay, so from what I recall from this book, She says, in order to have a Jewish wedding, you need some witnesses. There needs to be an exchange of some kind of like a financial exchange, traditionally the groom giving some kind of portion of his salary to the bride's family, and a signing of the wedding contract.
Yeah. So
And
there's
that's
like,
it.
kinda.
Okay.
In a modern Jewish ceremony, it's actually two different ceremonies taking place and like two different like halachic permutations kind of happening. In times gone by, whether ancient times, whatever, those usually happen separately. It's called kiddushin and also nisuin. Two completely separate. We've mashed them together because it makes sense in our modern world to do them at the same time. But one is basically like promising the couple to each other.
Yep.
And the second one is like as they're planning to live together. And so it used to take place like a year apart.
Okay.
Right? Like you promise yourself to him and then he goes and learns for a bit or something and then you start living together after a while. Like, but we've today like just put them as a single marriage ceremony. So what you're referring to is kiddushin.
All right.
Sometimes called like erosin, slightly different, but like same vibe. The three things, according to Jewish law, that can marry someone in this way are, number one is like a monetary transaction, like you said, which takes place currently in the form of a ring,
Yep.
right? As far as I know, the ring only has to be worth like 5 American cents or something. Like it's like I actually looked it up. There's like so many Jewish nerds on the internet who will like figure out what a weight of silver used to be worth, do the current, like what it's currently worth, and then like work backwards trying to figure out what it, anyway. So it's like not a lot that it's worth, but it has to be owned by the, like by one giving it to the other.
Okay.
Right. The second thing is a document,
Yeah.
the ketubah, a legal document that states the conditions of the marriage, again, because it's a legal framework.
Yep.
And then the third one is actually like consummating the marriage. But the third one doesn't happen anymore because it's not modest for someone to witness that happening. So it's like,
Hang on. Are you saying that in the olden days, I love saying that, by the way.
in the olden
In
days.
the olden days, that stupping was witnessed by someone.
Again, I'm not sure if practically that ever did happen.
Okay.
But you need witnesses to marry, right? The witnesses sign the ketubah, the marriage document. The witnesses have to watch the groom put the ring on the bride's finger, which is why we use our pointer finger, because it's just the most visible finger.
Okay.
If you're standing at the front and you're holding out your pointer, you can see the ring go on
Otherwise known as the index finger.
the index and pointer.
Pointer. Well, yeah, we grew up.
You point with it.
Okay. All right. So I heard that Jews put it on that finger because of some kind of artery that goes.
I don't think that's true. I think Jews are very practical people.
Okay.
Come up with lots of things that make sense, and then after a while, that's not enough, and we need like the deeper spiritual meaning that we like add on.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your opinion is valid.
Yeah,
In
so,
fact,
yeah.
it's the reason why we're here.
So the witnesses have to see the ring going on the finger. So you'd think that also like the witnesses would have to watch the consummation because like they have to make sure that they're married now. The rabbis kind of banned that because it is not appropriate to watch two people have sex.
Okay. That's also your opinion.
Yeah, but if you also think about it, like the yichud room is also designed for that, right? Like a little quickie after the wedding.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that and explained it, because there will be listeners who don't know what the yichud room is.
The yichud room is like if you're supposed to spend like, it's like 7 minutes in heaven, right? You're supposed to spend time alone with your spouse after the wedding. And like in Orthodox circles, it's like really enforced of no one's allowed in. So someone will stand guard at the door as well on the other side of it. Nowadays, it's really nice to like take a breath after and have some time to yourself. Orthodox people fast the day of their wedding. So it's after the ceremony, they'll have some snacks in there or something like that, which is also why I once explained this to my university friends, and now they call the yichud room the snack room.
Yes.
And so there was a while there that like all of the Sydney Uni College kids knew about the snack room because my friend told them about it. And so like that's the kiddushim part of the thing. That's the first half of the ceremony,
Sure.
right? We read out the ketubah, we exchange the ring, the rabbi says a nice blessing, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the second half of the marriage, which is the second, like the nisuin, and that's when we do like the sheva brachot, the 7 blessings,
Okay.
where it's like the celebratory nature of like the wedding itself, as opposed to the legalistic other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nisuin is how someone without a lazy palate would
That was
pronounce it.
so mean, but yes.
But that's how I express my respect and love for people, is by roasting them.
Yeah, it's true.
Nisuin is the part where you do the 7 blessings, and the first of those 7 blessings is the bracha, the prayer over the wine.
Yes.
Okay. And these days, it's become very commonplace for that wine to be white wine and not red. Do you know why that is?
Because people spill it on the bride.
Correct.
Yeah.
The Jews are a practical people.
Practical people.
Okay.
I don't remember. I think we just had grape juice. No, I think we had wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
White wine.
Can't remember.
Okay. So that's basically a Jewish wedding.
Yeah. And there's other stuff around it.
Such
Right.
as?
Like we break a glass at the end,
Yes.
which has become like, for a lot of people, that is a Jewish wedding. The breaking of the glass. I hate the breaking of the glass.
Unpopular opinion.
Yeah, super unpopular. So when we were like starting to plan the wedding, I had a couple of hang-ups that I had to let go of like, what does a Jewish wedding look like? What does it look like when it's 2 women? And one of my friends sat me down. They're like, don't be stupid. It can be whatever you want it to be. And like use it as an opportunity to be super intentional about the choices, about what you include and don't include. And I was like, yes, we can get rid of the glass breaking, because I hate it. And I hate that it's become the most like ubiquitous, like you smash the glass, everyone cheers, that means you're finally married. Even though technically you're already married after the ketubah, like the ring's on your finger. You're legally, like that's done already. And so I was like to Sky, like maybe we can skip the glass breaking, because like it symbolizes the destruction of the temple. And like even in your happiest moment, you should be mourning the losses of our people thousands of years ago, over thousands of years.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't want it. I don't like it. Like it's our sadness and heartbreak, and we smash, and then everyone starts cheering for it. And Sky goes, you think that you were denying my non-Jewish friends of the one thing that they know from Jewish weddings? Like you have another thing coming. Like there's no way. And she was right, because like the only thing, every time we would talk about the wedding, they're like, we're so excited for the plate smashing. We're like, that's Greeks. They're like, the glass smashing. They're like, yeah, we're so excited for that. And so my thing, like Sky did it.
Okay.
Yeah. And that people were really confused by that. That like the girl one smashed the glass.
The girl one.
That's not my words. That's their words.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the chuppah and what that symbolizes?
Yeah. So again, like I've read in different places, and I couldn't find this again when I was doing research, that the chuppah was like a European custom that we kind of adopted into
I have heard that too.
Jewishness. Again, a common thing that happens when, and it makes sense, because as far as I know, like a chuppah wasn't necessarily a Sephardi custom until more recently.
Yep.
Which makes sense that if it came from European, whatever. Could be wrong.
Yep.
But what we say it symbolizes is the openness of Abraham and Sarah's tent, right? It's chuppah is open on all 4 sides. It's supposed to be about welcoming people into your life. And also symbolizes like a home that you're going to build together with your new spouse, and like what you want it to be about.
That's what I say, and that's the information I have now. Now, many years ago, when that man approached me and said, it's not a kosher chuppah, I wish it's that common thing of getting the right response after the event. I wish I had said, well, actually, there is no such thing as a kosher chuppah, because it's something that isn't halachically required.
Yeah.
It's something that we have picked up from being exiled and
it's
living in different communities.
Because I've heard all of these different things from different places. So I've also heard before that it's supposed to be outside. So a lot of chuppahs are outside.
Yes.
I've heard it's supposed to be under the stars.
Okay.
And I've also heard, if you've ever been to the Great Synagogue in Sydney,
Yes.
and you've looked up at the ceiling, they've got little beautiful stars painted all over it because they hold chuppahs there, and chuppah, it's supposed to be under the star. Like that. So I've heard all of these bits and pieces of like unfact checked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever been to a wedding in Istanbul?
No, I can't say I have.
Jewish wedding in Istanbul?
I've never actually been to Istanbul, so yeah.
So Sephardi community there, majority Sephardi community, and they get married underneath, it's an arch, but then the talit, the prayer shawl, is draped over the arch. Are people supposed to get married underneath a prayer shawl?
Well, a chuppah can be anything. So at our chuppah...
It just has to be a canopy.
Yeah. At our chuppah, we used my dad's tallis.
Yeah.
And so that was like fastened to the four corners. And so that was really meaningful.
Beautiful.
But also people, like if you go to a shul, they'll have like, sometimes they have like really ornate velvet ones. Sometimes it's just cloth. Like, yeah, it can be anything really.
At my wedding, we used lace tablecloth purchased from a craft store.
Is it Spotlight?
It was Spotlight, but I'm aware we have international listeners. I don't know what the American equivalent is. Like
a Hobby Lobby or something?
Something like that. Anyway, we are no longer married, and I think that maybe it was jinxed
by the Spotlight.
By the fact that we used a lace tablecloth.
I think it's beautiful.
Okay. So, look, I definitely think this is going to be a two-parter because I had questions about same-sex weddings, and I had questions about why some rabbis in the United States, modern Orthodox rabbis in the United States, can officiate.
But, like, we don't really have it here.
Question for you before we wrap up the Ashamed to Admit Jewish Wedding Special Part 1. Because now
we know it's a part 2.
Now we know there's going to be a part 2.
Yeah.
You are female. You married a female.
What?
Crazy. Okay. And you were married by a Reform?
Masorti. Like a conservative.
Conservative rabbi, not modern Orthodox.
No.
Now, I'm aware that there are same-sex couples who have been married by modern Orthodox rabbis in the United States.
Yeah.
How come they were able to do that there, but in Sydney, Australia, we can't do that?
Again, all my opinion. America has a lot more Jews, and therefore more Jews, there's like more niche, like smaller, like a spectrum of religiosity.
Okay.
You'd find a much bigger, like open Orthodox community in the States, which we don't really have here. You find a lot more like egalitarian and halachic egalitarian spaces, which again, we don't have here just because we don't have the people to warrant like the micro factions.
Right.
And you also have to imagine, like, we're a very conservative community, right? We're always about like 50 years behind the States.
Yeah.
Not just, I think, Jewishly, but also sometimes in other social ways.
Yeah.
And we just don't have rabbis who are willing to play ball like that in Sydney. I know there's like, if I could think off the top of my head of maybe like 3 rabbis who are modern Orthodox who might be willing to do it quietly if it was a good friend of theirs kind of thing. I know one rabbi, so when I mentioned this on my story, and one person got like really angry and was like, I know a rabbi, he'd be willing to do it in Sydney. And I'm like, yeah, but I know who you're talking about, and he's not community affiliated.
Right.
That's the other thing. Like you can be a rabbi and not have a community. But more often than not, if you're a rabbi of a community, one, you're pleasing the community around you. Our communities are very conservative.
Yes.
You have to play ball with the bigger institutions, right? So the Rabbinical Council of Australia it's a Chabad run essentially. It's not run by them, but like most of the rabbis on it are Chabad.
Okay.
So that's going to swing it religiously to the right as well.
Okay.
That's about it. You know what I mean? It's just like our rabbis, we don't have the kind of rabbinic community who would be willing, I think, to be radical in that way.
Okay.
And to sort of push back on that because there's too much the other way pushing.
Right. Which upsets me as a queer woman, but as a civil celebrant, it's actually quite good for my business.
It's funny because it doesn't upset me because, again, I don't know, I just expect it. And I think the thing for me is that I try to view, like, halakhic marriage, if you view Jewish law as binding and you're an Orthodox person, it's less a homophobic thing, and it's more that, like, it is a legal structure that just doesn't cater to two people of the same sex.
Okay.
Right? The same way that in Australia, before John Howard in like the late 80s or earlier, marriage was always defined as like between two people, and it didn't say man or woman, it just said two people. But if you were two women and you went to the courts, it was a structure that just didn't cater to two people of the same sex that we've changed.
Okay.
And I think that there's so much, so many other things to be upset about sometimes with orthodoxy, that this is, like, I understand why this is a line for people.
Yeah.
Like, as a lesbian who is married, like, I understand why that is hard for people to change their religious worldview about.
Sure. And just to fact check you, in Howard's time or before 2017,
it said man and woman.
it said man and woman.
But no, I'm saying before then.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure, and again, fact check me, but
Yes.
John Howard introduced the language of man and woman to the Marriage Act to make it more like anti-gay marriage. So before then, it just said marriage between two people.
Okay.
And then I'm pretty sure Howard changed it to be between a man and a woman.
All right.
But again, like, even if it said before marriage equality was legal between two people,
Yeah.
our heteronormative brains would say, oh, a man and a woman.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just how that legal structure works.
Okay.
So I'm personally not fully offended by it.
All right. But you've slandered John Howard. So
Good. And I'll do it again.
all right. Which leads us to our final segment. Has nothing to do with our final segment. It's time to play Shame in the Shtetl.
Yeah, that felt good. Yeah.
Okay, so this one comes from a Facebook group, arguably the most cooked Facebook group in New South Wales. I'm not going to.
And we say that
name
as a
the group.
compliment. Yeah.
Okay, we do.
Yeah. Cooked in a good way.
Yeah. Shoshana, would you like to do the honours?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
So this is an anonymous member as well.
It is.
So they weren't willing to put their name to this. Hi all. Trying to plan a Jewish wedding and I feel like it will be very expensive. Ha 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 ha. My current fiance has plenty of friends and I was wondering how much a kosher wedding for 100 people could cost. It'd help a lot if you have your sheet with the cost of everything and possible suppliers. Thank you very much. Now, I remember when this went up because I almost very earnestly replied to it because I had just gotten married. And then I decided not my circus. Like, I'm not getting involved here. Do you remember why people in the comments were getting really...
I do. And you missed it.
Well, I knew. I said it.
No, but you didn't put the emphasis on this
because
word.
I think it's funnier if you just read it through.
Right. I'm going to read the bit that cracked me up and that made the comment section go off.
Yeah.
And it was, in fact, let's throw to AJ, our producer, and Rob, who's off camera. Did any word there pop out to you?
100?
No?
No.
Cooked?
No. I mean, that was how there was no cooked in the actual description. I'm going to read a sentence to you again.
Oh, something about sheet?
No. Trying to plan a Jewish wedding, and I feel like, hang on, I'm going to read this as a person with an advanced diploma in performing arts. Hi all. Trying to plan a Jewish wedding, and I feel like it will be very expensive. My current fiance has plenty of friends. They got it now.
Yeah.
My current fiance.
So I read this with sympathy.
Okay.
Because current fiance, because it will be very soon spouse, partner, wife, husband, whoever this is.
Generous reading.
Yeah. And I also can absolutely tell that English is not this person's first language.
Right.
This is either like an Australian, Israeli.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
What makes you think that?
It help a lot.
It help a lot. I think that's a typo.
No, but and also the space between much and full stop.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling you, this is a person who struggles with an English keyboard.
All right. That's really culturally sensitive.
And it's also like, I know enough of these people
Okay.
that I can read it in a second.
Understand. Whereas as the divorcee of this duo,
Yeah,
I
you were
read
like
it as
current.
current.
And most people read it your way,
Okay.
and they were like cracking up.
I also read it as someone who is super pissed at their fiance who's not pulling their weight.
Has plenty of friends, yeah.
So it's current fiance, but if he doesn't get his shit together,
Yeah. Honestly, okay, this is so interesting because
Okay.
I read this as a groom. This is a groom talking about his wife or his female fiance who has a lot of friends.
interesting.
But maybe that's gendered for me.
I think that's gendered for you. I don't think men typically write ha 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 ha.
Again, like I think it's a man who's nervous about how much his fiance, and again, this is super gendered.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit problematic.
Okay.
But I like this deep reading of it.
Yes.
Of this, yeah. I fully read this as this is like a Jewish man or an Israeli man who has an Australian fiance who has lots of friends and he's freaking out about how much this Australian wedding is going to cost him because weddings in Israel are like, I mean, they're not cheap, but they're much cheaper than they are here, right? Like
Yes.
kosher catering, a dime a dozen over there.
Right.
And like, that's how I read this. And also it's like, and again, this is gendered, but like he wants the sheet, like he wants an Excel spreadsheet of like breaking down the costs.
Right.
Because he needs to see it in front of him because men need help like that. They can't conceptualize it in their heads.
Hey.
Yeah. Anyway, that's how I read this post.
I think what we need is a cork board with some pins and red string.
And here's anonymous member now. We should like look him down and bring them in.
Bring them out like Ricky Lake style.
Yeah. Like this is your life kind of vibes,
Yes.
you know? Like this is your post.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And that brings us to our outro.
That is it for today's show.
You've been watching or listening to Ashamed to Admit with me, Tami Sussman, and Shoshana Gottlieb Becker.
This episode was brought to you by the Jewish Independent, the Gindependent,
Don't.
with Alleyway Productions. The vocalist in our theme song is Sarah Yael. More credits are in the show notes.
If you enjoyed this episode, tell your friends about it. Seriously.
Tell your parents. Get them angry because we talk things that will make them angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Share it with your conservative uncle, and please give us a positive review.
Okay, thanks. Bye. See you later.